Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Cardinals on SI podcast with Richie Bradshaw. I am Donnie Druin. We're reacting to the Arizona Cardinals Week 4 Thursday Night Football loss to the Seattle Seahawks. But before we get into the nitty gritty, go to comment, like, subscribe to the channel. All the support is definitely appreciated. Follow Richie on Twitter at RichieBrads36. Follow me on Twitter at Donnie Druin. Richie, we do not have Arizona Cardinals football this weekend. West don't have Arizona State Sun Devils football this weekend. It'll be a nice Saturday and Sunday of us not working and covering our respective teams. Arizona Cardinals dropped to 2-2 on the year after Thursday. Another NFC West division, another loss within a very, very tough race for that NFC West crown. Another game-winning kick. It's tough. It's all very tough. But how are you, my guy?
I'm good. ASU got a big-time win last night. And like you said, we get to enjoy the weekend now because there's a lot of good college football games going on. There are some pretty good NFL matchups tomorrow. And I'm feeling good about just enjoying a weekend where I'm not going to be stressing. And new mock draft coming Tuesday. 2.0 for the quarter mark edition of the season. We are still using FanDuel odds. So no, the soon-to-be 1-3 Ravens are not going to have the number 1 overall pick. Don't worry. Going to be fine.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Today in college football, what do we have? Bama, Tennessee, or Bama, Georgia?
Bama, Georgia.
Bama, Georgia. That should be fun. Penn State, Oregon, a little bit later tonight. Hashtag
we are. I'm taking them, baby.
Wait for that.
I'm taking them. I know it's risky, but I'm taking them. Donnie, before we got on the show, you told me Interstellar, huh?
Yeah, watching Interstellar for the first time last night. For those who don't know, I used to work at a movie theater, and I was working at Harkins whenever that came out, and I saw like a good bit of it just from like walking in and out of the theater, like doing my job. But I never really sat down and watched it. Very good movie. Very, very good movie. It understandably so gets a lot of hype, and I see why after watching it.
I need to rewatch because the first time I didn't really appreciate it, but I think I was really tired at the time, so I was kind of in and out. I need to rewatch it. So, you know what I don't need to rewatch? Thursday Night Football with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Football. That was a hard game to watch.
The Cardinals falter as our guy.
Bryson Nelly in the chat.
Bryson Nellis beat Ellie in the chat. Wish I could tell myself.
3-0. My neighbors think I'm selling dope, baby.
Oh man,
that's a fantasy name. That's a fantasy name. Just to clarify.
Yeah, I don't talk to my neighbors, so I don't think they think I'm selling anything. But shout to Bryson.
I had a neighbor out front when I pulled back home from Costco, and he just kind of stared at me, and I was like, I don't know what his name is. Like, wait, I was like, I've been in this house for 4 years. I don't know anyone.
Might be a Sam's Club guy. Welcome back to the desert, B. Nelly. Happy to have you, brother. Hope to see you very, very soon. I hope to see some changes on the Cardinals very, very soon as well. 23-20 falling to the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. And Richie, I think we can start the conversation with the Arizona Cardinals offense, or maybe the lack thereof. Kyler Murray.
There you go.
Another lackluster box score performance. We'll get into that here in a little bit. 27-41, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think you could make the case that both interceptions were not on.
Oh, they were not on him. Yes, they were not on him. They were on the same player, but it was not Kyler Murray's fault for those 2 interceptions, which is comforting for Kyler haters, but not comforting for the lovers of Marvin Harrison Jr. like myself.
Yeah, and the first one, I really need to get better at spicing up video for these. The first one coming in the I think it was the first half, might have been the first drive or two, where Marv was breaking inwards on an in route. I think he stopped running the route because he saw Kyler start to break out of the pocket a little bit to the right. Kyler tries to put it in the window. For my money, just a dude with a backwards hat talking in front of a microphone. For my money, that throw still wasn't a smart one anyway, with the corner trailing at a safety lurking behind Marv. But nonetheless, ends up in a pick. The Cardinals do get a break. They did get the ball back after Trey Benson recovered the fumble. I'm not sure if they did anything with that drive. And the second interception, tough. Extremely tough, and not TUFF tough. I mean, like the actual definition
like
of
tough. Bad tough.
Yeah. We have seen Marv catch that ball 100 times. We're probably going to see him catch that ball another 100 more times. That's just I don't know. It's inexcusable. He dropped it. And I think Kyler Murray said it best after the game. Marv just dropped the ball. Like, there's no need to overanalyze it. There's no need to make too big of a fuss about it. Marvin Harrison Jr. just dropped the ball, and that's something that he's been struggling with for weeks now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the best way to look at it. There's no sugarcoating this. It was not a good game for Marv. He ended the game on a
He
very good
bounced back
note.
great.
He did.
Yeah.
Big time, because it actually was able to tie the game up. And we'll talk about that a little later. But this was not a good game for Marv, and it's not been the best start to the season for Marv. We're 4 games in. We have 16 catches, 208 yards, and 2 touchdowns. However, he had 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown to open the year. He's been very underwhelming in these last 3 games, and that includes a game against the Carolina Panthers. And I know he went up against J.C. Horn, but we just have not seen that next step just yet from Marvin Harrison Jr. And there's been a lot of criticisms and critiques about why we haven't seen him get to that next point. The biggest reason is an adjustment to the size, something that I have been insanely critical about, but is starting to pop up a little bit more. Speaking of popping up, Steve Holler in the chat, Big Bird 92 in the chat. Welcome back, gentlemen. Good to see you guys. But Marv is just not taking that step forward that we need him to take right now. And look, he's 21 games into his NFL career, and he's young, and it's going to take some time to adjust. And unfortunately, when you're the 4th overall pick, you're going to be compared to your peers who are much further ahead of where you're at. And I don't want to make excuses of the play calling, which is atrocious, and it's not putting Marv in great situations. But we did see on Thursday night that Marv is just not all the way there right now. We saw a post-game press conference against the 49ers where he got emotional. We saw on Thursday night, he's in his head a little bit. And the touchdown he scored towards the end, he had to take a knee and just really soak it in. And hopefully that's going to be the momentum moving forward with a long week before their next game. But there's some stuff going on with Marv right now that needs to be figured out sooner rather than later.
No, I completely agree. And we will dive a little bit deeper into Marv later in the show. I agree with everything that you had just said. I think when you evaluate what the Cardinals offense could potentially be, a lot of that potential, Richie, heading into 2025 was banking on Marvin Harrison Jr. taking that next jump. And for whatever reason, we haven't seen him take that. I mean, we have not. Big Bird 92, still some coach speak, but overall less coach speaking press conference yesterday from Jonathan Gannon. He talked about some actual meaningful changes. I have the tiniest, and I mean tiny, sliver of hope. I do exactly have a slide about that coming a little bit later. Big Bird, shout out to you in the chat. Steve says, I was both devastated and then probably ridiculously optimistic from the last 5 minutes. I'm conflicted. I think that's the overall feeling a lot of people are having too. It's just, they were resilient. They fought. They didn't give up. It took another game-winning field goal to down the Arizona Cardinals. 2 division games in 5 days. It's very, very tough. Nobody really knows what to expect, and I think that's why bouncing back in Week 5 against the Tennessee Titans is going to be so imperative. Because what is this team? We have a 4-game sample size of what's worked and what hasn't. Now we're really going to start to see, okay, what is Jonathan Gannon's crew made of? So I think next week is a very, very big game, even though it's not going to get a whole lot of the national limelight, I suppose. Big Bird back with Maserati. Still need a key. He hasn't been unlocked yet by the coaching staff, and I would agree.
That was bars right there. Big Bird 92. Donnie, what is the biggest win margin that the Cardinals have had this year?
Like 2 or something like that, right?
7. They beat New Orleans 20-13 in Week 1. Then they beat the Panthers 27-22. Then they lost to the Niners 16-15. Then they lost to the Seahawks 23-20. Do you notice a trend?
Close games.
1-score games, each and every single one of them. And we have seen the Cardinals. New Orleans, look, it was a 1-score game. I don't feel like it was ever out of hand. I know they had that final drive, New Orleans did, to try and get the win, but I wasn't really concerned at any point. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. But Carolina, San Francisco, Seattle, we saw resilience from the team to be able to keep the games close. But one of the things I mentioned in a recent article for myself was the Cardinals need to finish the critical plays. And what that means is when the game is on the line, you need to be able to answer it. That's the key conversion on third down or fourth down. That's a pass breakup. That's a hard nosed run or a field goal or anything like that. And the Cardinals did that against Carolina when they got the stop when they needed to defensively because Bryce Young got
Yeah.
really hot in the second half of that game. But San Francisco, they couldn't get the stop. Seattle, about the most Cardinals loss I've ever seen. I cannot defend my man Chad Riley or Ryland for that one. That was bad. We'll talk about that. But these are one possession games. We typically see more often than not over the course of the season that it's very hard to win one score games. And I mean, they're 2-2. They could be 4-0. Very easily could be 4-0. They could be 1-3.
Mhm.
It's just the way that things have gone for the Cardinals so far this season. But that's the biggest issue they have right now is they aren't able to capitalize and finish the big opportunities to get those stops and to not have the special teams blunders. Because we saw the Cardinals drive on Thursday night, and that's one of the things that Steve mentioned was ridiculously optimistic in his own words for the last 5 minutes. And how could you not be? Because Kyler Murray answered he has tons of game-winning drives in his career, more than
Mhm.
people realize. And that was a game tying drive. And with the momentum that Arizona was building, I'm not saying they win in overtime, but I think it would have been a slugfest in overtime if not for a massive mistake.
Yeah, and to Steve's comment here, could Petzing realize the up-tempo game is helpful and learn from his past mistakes, or is
You
that
would
wishful
think.
thinking? I think a lot of people, Steve, will look at what the Cardinals did in that 2-minute drill and say, okay, like there could be something here. There could be something to letting
Right.
Kyler Murray dictate and orchestrate the show here, because it feels like a lot of the originally scripted stuff in quarters 1 through 3 just isn't working. For whatever reason, it is not doing its job. Um, and granted, like not that Seattle was playing like prevent defense by any means, but like they were very much playing the like don't give up anything over the top. And there's been so much
Right.
conversation about Kyler Murray not pushing the ball down the field, and well, if we're going to get into like the schematics of everything, like when teams are playing too high, like you're not really going to have a ton of shots deep on the field. That's just it is what it is, and it's so funny because everybody this offseason, particularly in training camp, had applauded Kyler Murray for kind of taking that next step maturity wise and not
Yeah.
forcing things and taking what the defense gives you and doing the mundane things over and over and over again. And Kyler is being coached to take what the defense gives him. That is
Yeah.
absolutely true. That is 100% true that Kyler's being coached to say, hey, you know what? And instead of trying to force something downfield, take the 5-yard dig route to Trey McBride. Take the 7-yard slant route to Marvin Harrison Jr. Like we'll get down the field and then we'll worry about the red zone offense a little bit later. But the lack of explosive plays aren't there for the Cardinals, and that's a very big reason why. But I think drawing this back, Richie, I felt much more comfortable and confident in watching the Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray putting the pieces on the chessboard pretty much. It felt like the game was a little bit more in his hands compared to Drew Petzing's, and for whatever reason, I
Yes.
felt very more comfortable with that. And
That's
the
something I want to touch
results,
on.
although minute, speak for themselves.
Right. And that's what I want to touch on right now with Kyler Murray is it felt like the game. So this was an up and down game for him. It wasn't a great game. I didn't think it was an awful game. It felt like things were a little bit slower for him. And I feel like part of that is because the weapons that were at his disposal, he didn't feel like he could lean on one guy. Because it did feel like the ball got distributed quite a bit. There was 4 different players who had a carry. There was 6 different players who had a catch. 7 players had a target. It felt like Kyler was spreading the ball around and giving opportunities to guys rather than relying on the feel. And I think that that's one of the best things that you can do for Kyler is have him have this offense simplified for him
Mhm.
with the quick, easy reads, because that's where we saw him at his best with Cliff Kingsbury, was the one read and just get the ball out and work from there, because the run game continues to struggle. Go ahead, take away their 29 yard long, 16 carries for 60 yards. It's under 4 yards a carry. They cannot run the football right now, and it is a massive, massive problem, which led to Kyler throwing the ball 41 times. But he completed 27 of those passes, and I understand his yards per attempt is a flat 4. That is not good. I'm not defending that, but it did feel like Kyler was just doing a better job. And those 2 interceptions were not his fault. We could be talking about a game where Kyler threw 220, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, and right about 75% completion. That's hard to be mad about.
Yeah, and I think when you look at what the Cardinals needed Kyler Murray to be in 2025, they didn't need him to be Superman. They didn't need him to be in that Cliff Kingsbury
Just don't
offense
turn the ball over.
where he had to throw for 303 touchdowns every week. Just
Right.
run the offense, and when you need to, use that crazy elite athleticism that you have and move forward from there. But basically, they just needed him to be an elite game manager.
Right.
Kyler Murray, through 4 games this year, has been that. I do not think he's been an MVP candidate. I also don't think he's been the reason for the Cardinals' last 2 losses. And if we're
No.
keeping it entirely a buck here, my man, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Drew Petzing has been responsible for the last 2 losses either. Can Drew Petzing improve? 100%. Absolutely. But you look at the execution going on the field, Petzing's not the biggest problem between the last 7 days, brother. He's not.
Um, I don't know. I think the problem that I have right now is there have been so many ongoing issues with Drew Petzing, and you continue to see those same problems over and over again. So right now, my question is, when are things going to change? When are you going to adapt and find a new way to see success? And I know a lot of Cardinal fans are going to look at that last drive and are going to be like, this is what we're talking about. This is what we want. You're not going to get it, because
Right.
that was an urgency drive. That was a, hey, we're on a limited clock right now. We got to go. It's just not, it's not a sustainable way that the Drew Petzing offense is going to go. Did it work? Yeah, of course it did. They tied the game up, but we're not going to see that on a week to week basis. So
I would agree.
that's where I still have the problem with Drew Petzing. I understand why you're saying it's not really 100% on him for the losses the last 2 weeks. But I also look at those games and I go, there was a lot of poorly managed opportunities. The Cardinals were unable to do anything offensively until late in the game. And a lot of that falls on play calling, which we have now
I would agree.
seen for over 2 years. So that's where I would give you pushback.
No,
Is
sure,
I,
and
I understand
I
what you're
welcome
saying.
that.
I can't get there.
No, I welcome that. What I
I
will
welcome
say,
you.
thank you. Glad to be here. Drew's a problem. Let's I Drew
Yeah,
Petzing
I know
does
you're
not
not
have.
saying he's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But the conversation around the Cardinals offense is so nuanced because there's so many bad moving parts to this that need to get better.
sure.
And, like, you really can't just say, oh man, well, if they just had better play calling, this would be better. No, because like the offensive line sucks right now. They can't run the ball to save their lives. Receivers aren't getting open or catching
Or
passes.
catching
They, they
passes.
they
Yeah.
don't have that big playability. Like, it's just so many things. And you hear so many times, football is the ultimate team game. Like, if one person doesn't do their job, it doesn't matter. Like, the stuff is going to get blown up, especially at the National Football League level. We're seeing that live and in person in the desert. There's so many things wrong with this offense. Like, there's got to be some serious soul searching going on. Drew Petzing is a problem. Things do need to change. Play calling does need to get better, 100%. But like right now, I do not think that like the overall play calling he's had has directly led to their last 2 losses. I don't know if one
I
singular
hear
thing
you.
has, to be honest, my man. Like, I can't look at
Okay.
one thing and be like, man, like if they just fixed that, they'd be 4-0.
Sure. I don't know that I would give you pushback on that. So, Donnie, what do you say we go ahead and flip the script to the defensive side of the ball with some highs and lows? But before we really dive into that, first of all, if you have anything else to say on offense, let me know. But I do want to start on a high note. Calais Campbell looks every bit of
Yeah,
that
I don't
money. You're
know.
not paying him. He looks 10 years younger.
I don't know
He
what he
has
eats for
been
breakfast. I
so
gotta find out.
good. Dude, he's been unreal.
Yeah,
So,
he's been incredible. I was so happy to see Darius Robinson get his first sack of the year on Thursday night too. I really hope that can propel him because there's been so much
yes.
conversation surrounding him and what he needs to be in the desert. And to be honest, man, like the Cardinals defense hasn't been like top five worthy by any means, but like there's a part of me that thinks if they just had more support offensively, like they would really be a top 10 unit, man. Truly.
Yeah. I don't think I
And
disagree with
injuries
you with
too.
that.
Like you can't forget about the. And speaking of injuries, Keichar Clark played his ass off on Thursday. I've been very critical of Keichar since he's gotten to the Arizona
I
Cardinals.
was going to say, friendly reminder, we had him as a potential cap casual or not cap casualty, roster bubble guy
Mhm.
going
100%.
throughout the offseason. And
So
he played maybe the best game of his career, including just laying out. Was it Kenneth Walker that he put in the
I think
dirt
so.
and then Kenneth flipped the ball at him and they got the 15-yard taunting penalty?
I think so. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that
It,
that
it, it
was
was good to
great.
see, man.
Dude,
Akeem
that's a
Davis
DB getting
Gaither
in your
cracked me
mind.
up. Yep.
Because he grabbed his leg. We all know he antagonized him, but that's a good defensive back. You get in their head because it worked. It turned into a 15-yard penalty.
I agree. Touching on the chat really quick, Richie, Big Bird. When guys like Colin Coward say he gives up things that when don't go well, to see climbs hand up his butt, working his mouth like a puppet. K1 literally orchestrated back-to-back touchdown drives. Yep. And then Big Bird only counter that Donnie's guys started making catches and plays when they got hot and felt in rhythm the last two touchdown drives. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I cannot argue with that. On the DS, I still need to figure out how to actually say that. New kicking rules are ass water. Yeah, I think we're seeing yardage around the league go down and like in total because of that. And
Yep.
it's so tough because you kick it out the end zone, they get the ball to 35. You kick it before that 20-yard thing, they get the ball to 40. And a lot of times those returns are getting to about like the 25 to 30. So this is kind of the other side of the coin that the league is going to have to deal with is, the
It
teams are
cost the
going
Cardinals a
to,
game. It
yeah,
lost the Cardinals a game.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say one
At
play
least in
really cost
regulation.
them. Yep, but when you look at the Seattle Seahawks getting the ball on the 40-yard line with under a minute left,
With a good
that
kicker.
becomes a lot more easier when you have to get only 2 first downs as compared to
Yep.
4. So
Yep.
is what it is. B. Nelly need Hernandez back in to get the run game going. I do think that's something that's going to happen. I think that feels very inevitable that whenever Will Hernandez is healthy, he needs to get back into the lineup because boy, did they need it.
Well,
Boy, do
he
they
was
need it.
questionable going into the game, wasn't he?
Questionable last 2 games, yeah.
So yeah, he's close. And you have 10 days before your next game. I'm not guaranteeing he plays,
Mhm.
but he's clearly close. And that's very welcome news considering how bad the offensive line has been. It's Paris Johnson, Yade Froholt, and a combination of Donnie Drew and Richie Bradshaw and Austin Frizzoco out there blocking.
Let's go, baby. On the DS says the defense has been getting too gassed out quick because of the offense. The defense could be more juiced. The offense stayed on the film longer. And like that's the hope, right? That's the hope that
Right.
the Cardinals can not only go on those double digit possessions, but they can turn 3 points into 7 points more often than not. And I think when your defense is able to play with the lead, especially the Cardinals defense too, where like the sack numbers really don't show it, but like they can get after the quarterback for sure.
Yeah.
When you're playing with a lead, that makes it a lot easier to do so. And they have not put together a complete 60 minutes of football yet, man. They
No.
just haven't.
Nope.
They really
And
haven't.
they're not gonna be able to take that next step until they do. And I know what a hot take from Richie Bradshaw, but I mean that truly is the situation the Cardinals are in. All 4 of their games have been one possession games. And all 4 of those games could have gone very differently in the Cardinals' favor if they had played the entirety of the game. This is a gritty football team. They could be 4-0, they could be 1-3,
Mhm.
but they have got to get themselves out of the situations where it comes down to the final drive. That's the problem right now.
Yeah, and I would agree. And to that point, I wrote an article after Thursday night's game where I said the headline was "Resilient Cardinals need to change their tune" because we've heard so much about the Cardinals being so resilient and they fought back and they
Right.
never gave up and like that's all good. That's all good,
That's
but like
great.
you can't get into the playoffs with how you're currently playing. And this is supposed to be a playoff team. And Richie, I
Right.
think you and I are both in agreement that um, heads are not going to roll if they miss the postseason. I don't think Jonathan Gannon's seat is warm. I don't think Monty Austinfort's seat is warm. But with the talented team that you have, if you do not make the postseason, this is still true after week 4 as it was before the season. If you do not make the postseason, we're going to have some conversations, and they're not going to be very fun.
Yep. And just real quick before we move on, to add on to the Cardinals gritty, everything like that, I hate moral victories. That's not a thing. You win games or you lose games.
Yep.
So until I'm blue in the face, I can tell you, man, Cardinals played really good. They were really, really gritty, but they didn't get the win, but they should be proud. No, you shouldn't be proud. What you should do is take what's good and use that momentum moving forward. You should never look back at a game and go, man, I'm proud. I'm proud of that. Certain instances, sure, I guess, but for the most part,
2023
wins are
Cardinals.
wins and losses are losses.
The 2023 Cardinals, perfect example. Like that roster was gutted, and they fought and clawed in pretty much each of those games to a 4-13 record. That team
Yeah,
you could look at and be like,
that
okay,
team,
they're
yes,
fighting their ass off, man. Like
right,
they are. We're far past that point now. Like
right.
we are far past that point, and I said it this offseason. I pounded this drum that we have yet to see Jonathan Gannon coach a team with expectations in the desert. We've seen him coach a unit in back-to-back years where nobody really thought much of them. But with the moves they made off this offseason, with the confidence levels on both sides of the ball,
Yep.
entering 2025, there are postseason expectations. And Silver Wolf AZ, LO, they're not making the playoffs. No way this team sweeps the Rams. I would agree. At least that last part, I do not think they sweep the Rams. And you are 0-2 in the division now. It's tough sledding. It really, really is. But
I'm
Richie,
sorry, with the way they're playing right now, I don't know if you win an NFC West game. Those are really good teams. San
I was
Francisco is good. Like, I apparently alone thought they would be.
mhm.
This is the second straight year that consensus people were down on Seattle, that we're not living in Washington, and was like, oh, they're going to finish 4th. And it's like, they might finish 2nd again. We got to stop being down on Seattle. They're just a good football team. And the Rams, they look good. So right now I look at the Cardinals and I'm like, that's the 4th best team. And the Cardinals are a good team, but you're 0-2 to start division play. Miserable way to start.
Yep, I would agree.
You still
And
have to go to Seattle, and you still have to play the Rams twice.
yep, and the 49ers one more time.
Yep.
We talked so much before the year started, Richie, about how the NFC West, you could shuffle it in any order, 1 through 4, and you'd be like, okay, like I could see that happening just because like all of the 4 teams are good. It was really wide open for the take. It still is wide open for the taking.
Sure.
But whenever I evaluated the Cardinals' postseason probabilities, I was never like, okay, like they need to win the division. I was always of the mindset that it was wild card or bust for them. If they won the NFC West, cool, awesome, really, really good football team. I never bought that they were going to get into the postseason like that. And
No.
you know, we talked a lot about more victories and why they aren't good. If we're looking at it objectively, Richie, I mean, it took a very, very good Seahawks team and a very, very good 49ers team game-winning kicks to beat the Cardinals, to beat a banged-up Cardinals. And granted, like everybody's banged up this time of year. The Cardinals may be a little bit more than others. Everybody's dealing with injuries.
Yeah,
If they
short
just
hand of the stick right now for the Cardinals.
find different little things to tweak and make these changes, then we're talking. And actually, Jonathan Gannon, perfect segue, talked about that after the game. and was asked, are big changes coming? Are big changes on the horizon? He said, I mean, offensively, some of the play types I think just haven't been as good for us through 4 weeks. So we got to look at that. Are we coaching those right? Do we need different people in those spots, or do we bag it like that's cool too? Basically saying, hey, like we're going to take a long look this weekend at what's working and what's not. Will it come to fruition? We'll see. But when you think of the changes, Richie, that need to be made to this offense, I could think of maybe play calling, changing that up a little bit. I think it needs to. Will Hernandez needs to be at either left guard or right guard. He needs to be in the starting lineup as soon as he's healthy, whenever that might be. What else comes to mind for you whenever you think of changes they can make?
I think it just starts with figuring out the offensive line, because right now at this point in time, the Cardinals shouldn't be worried about this guy plays guard. He needs to play guard. Will Hernandez needs to play on the right side. I think right now the logic needs to be get your 5 best guys out there. If that's 5 tackles, then get 5 tackles out there, because something needs to change, because a lot of things aren't working right now. The Evan Brown signing, which I praised, I loved it. Horrible. He is playing so bad. Isaiah Adams, horrible. Jonah Williams, still not good. And I don't know that I trust the answers that are behind them at this point in time. So again, it's Paris Johnson Jr., it's Yade Froholt, and it's everybody else. So you need to start making some adjustments, and you need to start playing around with some things. Maybe you kick Jonah inside the guard and you put Beachum out at right tackle. Maybe that gives you some more beef on the right side of the line. I don't know. But what I do know is they need to start playing around with stuff. Experiment. You've got 10 days between now and the Tennessee game. Tennessee is not a good football team at all. They might be picking number 1 again next year. So this is a big opportunity for you right now to start playing around with the offensive line, tinker, see what works. Again, you can't right now, with how bad they've been, you can't be afraid to just go out of your way and see, okay, this doesn't work. Maybe we'll just pivot back to this. Get out of your comfort zone, because if you don't, these same issues are going to persist, and it's going to derail the season because you can't run the football right now. And a massive reason you can't is there's no blocking. Now, Trey Benson's not been great. There's no defending that. But it's really hard for him to play above average when there's no lanes for him to run through.
I'd agree. I would agree that, and we've talked about it so much, my man. Like that Clayton Adams loss to Dallas really looms large, doesn't it?
Brother, me and you thought it was going to be pretty big. You were very, very vocal about it. I thought it was a big deal. You were sounding the alarms, and there's a very good reason why. And once again, the Dallas Cowboys have a great offensive line, and they're dealing with nicked up players, and yet they're still doing good. They're running the ball great. Javonte Williams, who is on a 1-year deal, might lead the league in rushing yards because of how good that line is, and he's good too. But not to get sidetracked, the point is losing your offensive line coach decimated this team and made another team really good. I think you can connect some dots there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Lydia says, I'm done with Isaiah Adams. I think a lot of people are. And that sucks because the organization was so vocal about the confidence levels in him as a full-time starter moving into this year. And he just hasn't played up to par. I think PFF have both him and Evan Brown graded as like 2 of the worst guards in the league to this point. And we'll see. I think this all comes back to Jonathan Gannon's ability to invoke change and be open to change, because Gannon, for better or for worse, is a guy that really likes to trust the process. He likes to trust the people around him. He doesn't dive too deep into areas he doesn't feel like he needs to. But as the head coach of a 2-2 football team with a roster like we've talked about that probably should be competing in the postseason past week 18, at a certain point you do kind of need to reach in there and start invoking some change before it's too late. And switching that, the whole before it's too late argument. Maserati Marv, man, we talked about him a little bit earlier in the show. We will wrap up the show with this. He's in his head, man. That sucks because he's such a talented kid. Generational. That was the
I stand by that.
Out.
I stand by that. I'm not backing down. He could have been. He could have been Marvin Smith. Generational. I refuse to back down on that. So I will sink with that ship.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. If his last name was not Harrison, he still would have been the number 4 overall pick. I'm there with you. And I'm very, very happy Kyler decided to stick with him and not go away from him, because he was getting throttled online during that Thursday night football game.
It was a
I'm
bummer.
not sure if you saw this, Richie, but I overheard like Seahawks personnel talking about it. I tweeted this out. One of the Seahawks guys said he's broken. And after the ending to last week in San Francisco, and then the first half against Seattle, it's like, fuck, man, he's cooked. He's cooked. But then the confidence from Kyler didn't waver in him, went back to him on 2 huge plays, the touchdown grab being one of them, and then the sideline back shoulder throw being another one before Amari DiMercado's touchdown.
Right.
It's just we need, I don't know, do we need to smudge the locker room? Like, do we need to like lock everybody in your room and figure this out? Like, what needs to happen?
You gotta sage it or something, man, because
and it sucks because like it doesn't look like Marv and Kyler are on the same page. Whenever Marv does get a lot of the opportunities, it's just not clicking right now. It's not clicking right now. That can easily change next week with as many bye the team has. I still have full confidence in Marvin Harrison Jr., but Richie, I would be lying if I told you I wasn't at least a little bit hesitant to see how things unfold moving forward.
And I think you need to be. I think you need to have some kind of hesitation right now, because this is a problem. And I think the biggest problem that we've seen from Kyler since he got into the league is inconsistency. Because there are times where he's the best player on the field, and there are times where you're wondering where number 18 is. That is something to worry about. Now, I'm not ringing the alarm bells just yet, but I am keeping an eye on it, because we have seen for, I'm going to say 7 quarters. I'm going to include the 49ers game, and I'm going to include the 3 quarters from Seattle. He's just lost.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not tracking the ball. He's letting it hit his chest. He's clearly in his head. Like you said, there are 3 positions in football you don't want to be lost in your head: quarterback, receiver, and corner. Because when you're in your head playing those 3 positions, things go really, really, really bad. And that's what we're seeing right now from Marv. And it's an issue. He's got to get it settled down. He needs to have conversations with coaches. He needs to spend more time with his quarterback. Maybe have conversations with your dad, Hall of Famer. Do some stuff in the film room. Just sit in front of the jugs machine for a few hours. But he needs to start taking proactive measures off the gridiron to get this right. And you're hoping that the way that they ended the game is going to be what propels him and builds that momentum to get going again. Because I saw it perfectly online. I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but they had that picture of the touchdown, and they were like, just so you know, busts don't do this.
Yeah.
Busts don't have arguably the greatest season in Ohio State football season career ever. Guys that are busts don't go 4th overall and put up 885 yards and set a franchise single season record for rookie touchdown receptions with 8. Busts don't do that. Marvin Harrison is not a bust. But there are things that need to get fixed, and they need to get fixed in a hurry.
Yes. And I think watching that last touchdown, and really quick to this point,
Get him out. Get Isaiah Adams out of here.
Game first half. I was at the game. I didn't see the broadcast. I didn't see people talking about this though. So like I'm not sure. And then JK Gamer, thanks for checking us out, my man. I don't even know what to say about this team. Yeah. I think every single person in Arizona is with you, and there's a lot of conflicted and mixed feelings. I'm sure we'll talk about this probably next week a little bit, but just where our feelings are at with the Arizona Cardinals at this point, 50-50, man. There's half of me that says you should not be 2-2 right now. Like, what are we doing? Like, not sound the alarm. It's not time to hit the panic button quite yet, but changes need to be made. And then there's the other side of the coin where it's like, look, man, like, you're a couple plays away from being 4-0. Like you're right there. You just need to make a little bit more tweaks. and you'll be golden. But like wrapping this up back to Marv, that touchdown catch was everything, man. It was everything. Like him high pointing the ball, him going over what was that Witherspoon that was covering him?
It sure was Witherspoon,
Yeah,
because the
what of the
announcers made
division's
sure to
best
point out,
cornerback?
like, hey, he didn't just beat anyone.
Yeah.
He beat arguably the best defensive back on that team that has a lot of good defensive backs.
Yep. And then the back
Legion
shoulder
of
throw
Boom
on the
is
final drive
yeah.
before the DeMarcado touchdown. It's like this.
Mhm.
This is what the number 4 pick does. This is what Marvin Harrison Jr. showed at Ohio State. We need more of this. So if you could just capture that and just harness it and just push it into the future, that would be great. But like it doesn't work like that. And I think where the hesitancy comes with that, Richie, as we wrap up here, I don't know that the people in Arizona around him are capable of doing that. And I think that's the biggest problem. So,
but he also
else
needs to be able to pick up his slack too.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Marv guy. I don't want to create excuses over and over again for him, but there is work that needs to be done for sure. Back to you,
And we'll
Donnie.
see if it gets done over this mini bye. One of the positives you can take away from this is there's an extended period of time to where the coaches can really take some time, evaluate film, and say, okay, like we're 4 games in, we have a pretty good sample size of what we like and what we don't like. Let's make changes. So I think week 5 at home against Tennessee Titans, not that it's a get right game, but this is such a good opportunity, Richie, for these guys to really get this thing going in the right direction, because you have that. You're on the road against the Colts the next weekend. The Green Bay Packers are here. That it's a bye week, and then on the road against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and then you have a brutal stretch to the second half of the season where you need to be ready to go.
Yep, I criticized that schedule all off season, and with the start the Cardinals have, it's not going to be fun. It is not going to be fun.
Not going to be fun, but regardless of what it is, we will be here to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Donnie Druin. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Cardinals on SI podcast. Follow Richie on Twitter at RichieBrads36. Follow me on Twitter at Donnie Druin. You can check out our work at si.com/NFL/Cardinals. Enjoy the weekend, everybody, and we'll see you guys